Let's all go to the lobby, lobby, lobby. Let's all go to the. Let's all go to the. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the. Let's all go to the.
What is up, brewskis? We're back yet again with another episode of the One Reel In podcast. With me, as always, is the venerable Marco Dupa.
Doggy dog.
All right, now we're getting canceled on YouTube.
Why?
On YouTube.
I can't say.
You can't do it. Bleep it.
Okay.
I am Adam Obesis Rodriguez, if you're not familiar. Thank you for joining us. Before we get into our movie, I want to say we have a little special treat today because I was able to go to none other than Homeland, I would say, for our craft beer love, Cigar City Brewing.
Absolutely.
I didn't tell you this, but I got you some gifts that I want to show you right now. So
Gifts on the show.
just a couple of little nice things I thought you might like. So you can pick your favorite out of these two. One of
Okay.
them's mine, of course.
Nice.
Some nice Florida Man koozies.
Ooh. Yeah, I gotta go with
Okay. That's fine. I like the feel of that one. It's nice.
Should have given
and
me a choice.
even better than that, I would say.
Oh, I don't know if I showed this. Hey. Nice gator. Oh my goodness.
Got us some matching shirts.
Oh, look at that.
Halloween or High
Halloween. Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think Cigar City has a special place in our hearts.
Yes, it does.
So,
That's a sick shirt.
yeah. So, in the spirit of giving, we're going to give you a review of none other. Excuse me.
You wanna try it
again? Okay. Shush! Quiet. So, in the spirit of giving, we are going to be giving you none other than a review of Snoop Doggy Dogg's 2001 hit Bones.
Take that a little bit away from your face.
Okay.
All right. Okay, we're good.
Okay.
Bones.
Bones. Bones.
Bones.
But before we do that, Marco, tell us what we're drinking today.
Oh, goodness gracious, Obi. You brought back something illustrious. This is from Cigar City Brewing.
Of course.
As a treat, their Imperial Stout with cherries and coconut. And boy, howdy, does it have a cold read.
It sure does.
Get rocking.
All right. The Imperial Stout with cherries and coconut. We've created this Imperial Stout loaded with cherries and coconut as a treat for anyone looking for an indulgent and rewarding beer experience. You can have a little, so treat yourself. This is from Cigar City Brewing in Tampa, Florida. It comes in at a whopping 12.4%.
Nice.
So I saw it,
Nice.
immediately thought, perfect for this show.
All right. Well, let's get wicked.
Crack it. Oh, yeah. Pull it up. Oh.
Look at that. Oh, no, not on my pants.
I mean, it's almost like tradition for you to do that.
It really is. It's getting bad. I never do this at work.
Yeah, I'm sure this never happens. Heard that one before.
Seriously, babe, it never happens to me.
All right. Clinker up. Let's give her a sip. Ooh.
Whoa.
That is quite indulgent.
Quite. Ugh. Whew.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm speechless for a second.
Speechless, but we got a lot to say about this.
We do have a lot
movie.
to say. A lot to say. So, we are discussing the film Bones, directed by Ernest R. Dickerson. As you did just a little bit of research before this show,
Yeah.
we found out he is actually quite prolific in film and TV.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's directed multiple movies, and I mean, I think probably his biggest claim to fame, you could say, is that he is, or was at least, the cinematographer for who was it?
Spike Lee.
Oh, none other than Spike Lee.
Yep.
For some of his, biggest hits.
Yeah, I mean, basically his entire 90s run.
Yeah.
Well, his late 80s to early 90s run was all Dickerson.
Right. So, I mean, he's still continuing to work to this day, doing stuff.
I would argue that his bigger claim to fame is that he wrote and directed Juice.
I thought you were going to say Bones.
Damn it, I missed the... Fuck! I
Yeah.
missed just a beautiful, beautiful opportunity for
Well,
a
yeah.
joke.
Of course, Juice is huge. Juice came out back in 92. So it was quite a while until he got to Bones, which is pretty interesting. So I guess he kind of hopped in and out of roles as a filmmaker.
Yeah, you would think that Juice would have given him a lot of leeway in the industry.
Yeah.
I wonder what the story is behind that, because it's just very surprising to me that he'd direct Juice and then just do some weird stuff.
Yeah.
I guess Bones is not weird when you think about it.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. But, he went on to work on such hits as ER, Weeds, The Wire, Law and Order, Burn Notice.
Oh, and if you look at the stuff that he did for The Wire, it's actually pretty, a couple of season finales.
Substantial stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not just, middle of the season stuff. But,
Yeah. Treme, Dexter. Oh, I mean, The Walking Dead. The list goes on and on. So he has cred. Real filmmaking cred, and obviously some of the best TV shows of all time he's worked on. So, I mean, the guy knows how to shoot.
He does, which is interesting.
Very interesting for a film like Bones. So a little bit of backstory here. We hadn't seen Bones for a while, at least me.
Yeah.
I don't know when the last time you saw Bones was. As a kid, right?
Yeah. I mean, I probably rewatched it when it was on BET.
Yeah, it was on TV for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this is probably my first time watching it as an adult.
Yeah.
And it is a movie. I will tell you that much.
It's definitely a movie.
Yeah. So, I say before we get into it too much, I, of course, have to do my story shotgun.
Yep. You were very efficient last week, so...
All right, let's see if I can do this.
I don't think you'd have a tough time with this movie.
And go.
Yeah.
Okay, so the story, essentially, is Jimmy Bones is a, let's say, street entrepreneur.
Yeah. They don't really tell you what he does.
They don't. He looks like a pimp.
Yeah.
But the community loves him.
Yeah.
He's later approached to sell crack, to which he says no. That's his line.
Yeah.
Because these are his people that he's going to be selling it to.
Right.
He's going to sell drugs within the community, which he
But
will.
Jimmy Bones, I sell drugs in the community.
I couldn't help but think of that immediately. Black Dynamite. But yeah, so long story short, he ends up getting caught up in a setup, essentially, to get himself killed because he won't sell drugs. And they know that crack is going to sell like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a dirty cop, one of his friends, and a drug dealer all conspire to kill him.
Yeah. I think they killed him because I guess they thought they had to, because he didn't go in on the deal.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, they kill him out of a fit of anger, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say, is like, it seemed like they were planning on killing him if he didn't go along with it regardless.
Yeah, I guess that's true, because the cop was, you know what? Let's get back. Let's do the thing. We'll come back to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're interrupting my
Yeah, sorry,
my
you're
thing.
right. You're right. My bad.
So he gets killed. His girlfriend goes in there, sees him get murdered. Then she becomes complicit with it, kind of, because it's the dirty cop who initiates this.
Yeah.
Where he's like, all right, well, if I'm part of this, you're all part of it. So everyone has to stab him as he's dying after he got shot like 10 times.
Yeah.
So they all stab him. His girlfriend's the only one to be like, nah, I don't want to do this. And so she ends up trying to stab herself, but he says, nah, and has her stab him anyway. He dies. For some reason, they feel the need to strip her dress off like it's a piece of paper.
Yeah.
To drape his body, which doesn't really...
I mean, he says to use it to clean it up, but I mean, they dragged a body through this house. I just don't understand.
Yes, a woman's dress, and Snoop Dogg's like 7 foot.
Yeah, they're not
tall.
going to... Yeah, that's not going to be enough.
No. It's a weird plot device. Anyway, so he dies. They bury him in this mystery mansion in the middle of the hood.
I think it's his house.
Yeah, but I don't know why it looks like that. Is my point. He's
got design choices.
Whenever they're in that house or around that house, we're suddenly in a gothic horror picture.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Dutch angles galore.
yes. So they bury him in the basement, I assume, and nobody tells the secret.
They buried him in the dungeon keep.
Yes, that's what it looks like, in the dirt, the dirt basement, 10 feet down.
Yeah.
And so, we get to present day, which is 2001, and lo and behold, this group of youngsters comes in to try to rejuvenate the place.
Right.
And they are a couple of DJs and their manager. They also happen to be brothers, and one of them's their friend.
Yeah.
And their stepsisters come along for the fun too. And so I'd say like half the movie is them setting it up, even though they're getting these warnings from everyone that this place is not safe.
Yeah.
Eventually, they unearth the body after they find this demon dog,
Yeah.
which they're warned about as well.
Yeah.
The dog runs downstairs, unburies the body. They find the body, and for some reason, their initial response is, well, we can't talk about this because, we need to open up our club. And that takes precedence. They also steal from the body, even though they know this is the body of a street entrepreneur, a legendary street entrepreneur, who they've been warned about plenty of times. And they go along with opening the place up. The ghost starts to haunt them in that club, causes maggots to fly everywhere. One of the friend of the group ends up getting seduced by this woman that ends up turning into the dog that ends up killing him. Okay, and I'm gonna wrap it up. Don't worry. Don't worry. So along for the ride as well, the daughter of Bones's ex girlfriend. They weren't married.
No. That's important.
Yes, Pam Grier. She gets wrapped up in this entire thing because she meets up with our hero of the story, and so she stays overnight, even though her mom is a psychic and says not to because something went down there. And so she stays anyway, gets freaked out.
You're losing the plot a little.
Becomes the love interest. It's the beer. Okay, I'll wrap it up. We find out that the people in that room when Bones died include Bones' girlfriend, who is now the mother of the love interest.
Right.
Our heroes in our little group here, one of the DJs, their dad,
Right.
who has warned them to stay out of the hood because it's a bad place to be.
Yeah.
Also, this weird guy who yells out of his window and shoots a dog.
Yeah.
So they were all, and some pimp,
Yeah.
drug dealer,
Yeah.
the guy who wanted him to sell the drugs in the first place.
Right.
So Bones rejuvenates his body by killing people and eventually gets into a corporeal form and goes on a revenge-seeking rampage. Yes, good word. Yeah. So he basically takes everybody out, except for his girlfriend, who he brings back to his lair after it gets blown up. And tricks her into, in sort of like a vampiric way, seduces her and brings his daughter into it too, saying, "Oh, we're gonna stay here forever." But really, they're in this like basically upside down world, if you will, the spirit realm. And our hero comes in to save the day, ends up running out of there with his girlfriend. They think they're safe, but it turns out the girlfriend is still inhabited by the ghost of Bones and throws up maggots on him.
Well, you missed the part where...
Shut up!
Okay, sorry. You're right. That's my fault. I should have spoken. Right?
That's the end of the story.
Sorry about that.
Go on.
Where Pam Grier says in a rush, his blood is still in the house. That's why he's allowed to do all of this.
Right.
Spiritual walking and killing.
Yes.
And so we need to go there and find the blood and destroy it.
Right.
She says all this in like 30 seconds.
Matter-of-factly.
Yeah, it's very just like,
right.
oh, I know why he's allowed to do all this. It's my dress.
It's the blood.
His blood is on my dress.
Yeah.
And I need to, go, his blood got on every...
It was on the floor, too.
It was everywhere.
Yeah.
Got on the floors, got on her dress, got on the cop's suit.
And I think that's very true. They don't address that at all.
Yeah.
Because he makes a point of saying, my only good suit.
Yeah.
They should have done something with that.
They should have done something with that for sure.
So I think I think that's the reason why there's no real good reason for it to be the dress. It's just a plot device.
Right.
That's all it is.
Right.
Anyway, so you're right. I did leave that important plot detail out. So while they're in that spirit realm, she gets awoken because I keep calling him our protagonist. It was
like fucking Tenet.
Yeah, the protagonist.
Patrick.
Yes, Patrick, played by Khalil Kain. He gets confronted by his dad, who's now been absorbed by the spirit wall. Yeah. this amalgamation of everyone who's died there, I guess. I don't know. They don't explain it.
They really don't explain that part.
I think
there
it's just
couldn't have been hundreds of bodies.
I think it's just the underworld. I think that's what it's supposed to be. So
his
anyway,
dad played by a star-turning role.
Yeah.
Clifton Powell.
Clifton Powell, of course, playing Jeremiah Pete. He gets absorbed. He's in there. He grabs his son and says, "Help me!"
Jimmy Bones did this.
Instead of helping him, he chops his arm off. And for some reason, that wakes everyone up from this this fugue state.
He chops his arm off
with a knife.
Why?
I don't know. And so in that awakened state and realizing, oh no, I'm not young anymore. And this isn't really happening, and this is not a good thing. She's in her dress. She lights herself on fire with a candle. Bones comes and embraces her, and they all burn up together.
Yeah. Then we get to the escape.
Right.
And the daughter. And then we realize that the daughter's still possessed, or possessed now.
I guess.
I mean, there is that scene where she's about to jump into the elevator shaft and she gets pulled back.
She walks away, yeah.
And that's obviously like, oh no, but no real explanation there.
He's never done that either. Possessed somebody?
No, he's never possessed anybody.
Yeah.
So that's a new trick.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, credits. That is the end. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he did that pretty efficiently.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
There's so much to unpack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do we even start?
Well, as we do, we like to start with the negative.
Yeah. As we do.
So, Marco, tell me something you didn't like about this movie.
Okay. There's a lot to not like.
Sorry, Ernest.
Let's just start it there. And that's the very interesting thing about this whole thing, right, is Ernest Dickerson is a very, very talented writer, director, cinematographer.
Yeah.
I mean, we're big fans, and we didn't even know this. We're big fans of his work.
Yeah.
You know, like to think that he wrote and directed Juice and the cinematography that he's done for some of my favorite TV shows of all time.
And movies.
And movies.
Do the Right Thing and Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Man.
So, I mean, it's fascinating to see, like, I don't know, maybe he thought that this was like the Y2K flavor. This is the way to make a movie at this point in time.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say this. He's not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of horror movies had that same kind of...
Yeah, no. I was going to say the same thing. It is so in the zeitgeist of horror movies.
Yeah.
Miramax horror movies in like early, like 2000 to 2006 or 7.
Yeah.
Like all of
them looked exactly
like
the same.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So in that regard, I mean, I guess I can't even really call it a negative. I mean, it's a negative of the whole genre. There weren't a lot of good horror movies being made.
And most of them don't age well.
No.
Like, I would say not the only reason spoiler alert, I like this movie still. Not the only reason why, but a major reason why is from nostalgia goggles.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Just being in that time and place when these horror movies were the thing. And, like, especially for younger people, teenagers going out and watching it. I'm sure if you're like 30 in 2001 and you saw that, you're like, this sucks.
Right.
This is trash.
Right.
But time and place, I think, play a big factor in the enjoyment of this film.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's sitting at a 25% of Rotten Tomatoes, so you're probably right about that.
Yeah.
Adults watching this
Sure.
were probably like, well, not probably, they were like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah.
So, negatives. I mean, it's a very lazily written movie. And what I mean by that is there's so many plot holes that it's not even worth trying to keep track of everything that's going on. There's no explanation as to his powers, why he got them. I get the whole unjust death, and that would give power to this evil spirit. That happens all the time. You see that a lot in movies where it's just like this person died unjustly, and so now they're back for revenge, yada, yada, yada.
Sure.
But who's to say that his death was really unjust?
Right.
They make it seem like he is this Robin Hood of the hood, but they also like allude to the fact that he is still like a pimp,
Sure,
or
a
some
criminal
kind
of some kind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So like, not to say that criminals deserve to die, but like, it seems
Fascist.
like it seems like that's just the game, baby, right? I mean, that's how things go. They were moving out on his territory.
Right.
They wanted him to be a part of this deal. He was like, "You're not gonna sell that free base to my grandmama," and they were like, "Yes, we are," and then they killed him.
Smoke this shit.
It just seems like, kind of, yeah, I don't know. So that's a little thing.
And you know what? I don't mean to stop your flow.
No,
I want to
okay.
add to that too, though.
Yeah.
The fact that they don't get into detail about his criminality and what he's doing is such a cop out.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Like,
it's so cheap because it's like, well, we need to find his vengeance justified.
Right.
We need to. I don't think they do a good job of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like even when we were watching it, it's like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like. It seems like Bones is a little selfish.
Yeah. Why would? I mean, given the position that his friends were put in, I mean, he literally says like his bodyguard, who's his first official death once his body's back. His bodyguard is like, "What would you have me do?"
Right.
And he's like, "You could have died with me, or you could have died trying." It's like, what kind of position are you putting your friend in?
All debts are paid.
You put your friend in this position, right, to take this deal, and maybe obviously you didn't think that his homie Jeremiah was gonna double cross him,
right?
But at the same time, that's the game, baby, right?
Yeah.
That's the reason you have a bodyguard. It's because you know that kind of shit can go down, and so he didn't sacrifice himself like Pam Grier's character, so now he deserves to die.
It's a little much.
It's
a little much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, the details about what he actually does are a little not murky. They're not even addressed.
Right.
It's just like a rich pimp
Sure.
that just drives through the
Giving
neighborhood.
people money.
Literally just giving people handfuls of money.
Right.
Is how the opening title sequence is, just him handing people money.
And you know what? I think it would have been a better movie for it if we saw that he's a hypocrite and he's brutal and has these expectations because he's such a bad guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. If he's not seen as like an anti-hero, and he's just seen as a guy, and you know, with laws and everything, it kind of makes his vengeance make more sense.
Yes.
Because it's not justified.
Right.
It's just he's a vengeful spirit because when he was alive, he was a vengeful person. Right. That would have made more sense. But for us to, like, the way that they paint it is that we're supposed to like root for him because of how these people did him. And it's like, yeah, I mean, fuck cops, sure. But you know, again, it's like,
well, and of course they make the cop like the most slovenly, disgusting,
despicable
pervert.
Yeah.
Like they had to do that to him.
Yeah, no, he's just like, I mean, just disgusting. Just a fucking.
Which I when we get to the positives, I'm gonna circle that one back. But please continue. Is there anything else? Any other gripes that you want to?
The kids were just, I mean, you know, Khalil Kain, who's a great actor, who I just realized, Dickerson, ironically, has the juice to have pulled Pam Grier, Snoop Dogg, Clifton Powell, and Khalil Kain.
Yeah.
All these like fantastic actors to do this movie. Because like, if you slid this across my desk as an actor myself.
Did you mention Snoop Dogg as one of the...
I did mention Snoop Dogg as one of the... Well, Snoop Dogg in 2001, massive star still.
Well, sure,
massive star. Movie star?
Still is now.
Yeah, true. Was he an A-list actor? No. The kids were, they're just stereotypes, you know.
Very generic.
And I feel like that was a missed opportunity to do something interesting. They do something interesting with. See, here's my overall gripe, and this will be my end of the cons for me.
Thank God.
My overall gripe is there's touches of so much potential. You got Clifton Powell's character who's like, I'm out of the hood. Obviously, for the most egregious reason is he helped murder his friend.
Yeah.
And like, he's now, I got to get out of here.
Right.
Then he marries a white woman and brings a white daughter into the household. So now that's super confusing in the beginning when she's like, hey man, don't talk to my sister like that. And you're like, she's white.
Sister.
Not mixed.
Yeah.
White.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Right. Redheaded.
Yeah. So there's potential there. There's potential for, you know, Khalil Kain, Patrick, him doing the whole like, I just want to be like you, Dad. I did this for myself. I started this business on my own. I'm giving back to the hood that you don't want to give back to.
Yeah.
What's the problem? Yada yada yada. It's all these very deep conflicts that are made shallow by the fact that the central plot is this vengeful spirit coming back to murder people. So that's probably my biggest gripe, is that there's a better movie here. There is a better movie deep down underneath all this shit. There is a better movie. Yeah. So that's mine.
Okay. Well, I will actually kind of... I will jump off of that into my gripe, which is pretty similar, which is that I think this is a lot of movies smashed into one. And they could have chosen one or two and made a pretty meaningful, thoughtful, entertaining movie. But instead, I think they kind of chose the grab bag approach and took like 5 ideas and smashed them together.
Yeah.
And the vibes is off, is all I'm trying to say. I will also mention, and I looked it up on purpose because I had the feeling this may have had something to do with it. This movie came out the month after 9/11.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I think we both observed the fact that the blood looks like paint.
Yeah, terrible.
And I get the feeling, and I may be completely wrong in this because there are many other reasons to paint your blood that color, but I think they were trying to tone down that level of realistic violence.
Interesting.
So I've heard in documentaries of other movies that came out around that time that they toned down the violence a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it even happened to like Halloween Horror Nights that year. They abandoned their original idea of this chainsaw maniac, son of Jack the Clown, or not son, brother of Jack the Clown. Don't get me started.
Yeah. One day we are going to have a real conversation about our overreaction to 9/11.
Okay.
Is that offensive?
What?
I don't think that's offensive.
Oh, do you mean as far as like allowing our security to overburden our freedom?
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm not saying that like it was justified. Don't make that face. Don't make that
9/11.
Face. Listen, I'm not backing off of this. I'm not backing off of this because if you want to misconstrue this
man's thoughts are all of his own.
Listen, that's on you if you want to misconstrue this. Okay, that's not what I meant. I didn't mean, huh? Fuck them. If they're not gonna listen.
We're definitely getting taken off YouTube now.
Listen, the idea that a horror movie set in some nondescript project has to tone down the violence of a demon dog spitting vomit that is maggots
Yeah. Maggot vomit.
as a response to a terrorist attack
Sure.
is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I think, and we can talk about that. Maybe next 9/11, we can talk about that. Never forget.
I am not saying that certain steps shouldn't have been taken around that era. What I'm saying is that's an overcorrection.
Well, and here's the thing. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I will say I think it had more to do with the idea that people didn't want that content at that time, and they should have just pushed it. They should have just pushed a lot of these things that they toned down.
Yeah.
Instead of toning it down, because that's like censorship,
Right. Well, don't make the movie worse as a response to. You've already had this idea of like a hyper-violent, gory horror movie.
Right.
And you're going to change that because of a terrorist attack that happened in real life. If the movie was about terrorism or hijacking planes or even set in New York, I could see that response. But
the Twin Towers
it just has nothing
are
to
in
do
shots
with it.
and stuff.
It's a weird overreaction. And a lot of industries and a lot of entertainers, a lot of people made this same overcorrection.
Sure. I think like everyone in the U.S. especially did. I'd say around the world too.
Yeah.
You saw that sort of market correction immediately.
Yeah. And I understand it. What I'm saying is, looking back now,
Or anything critical of America.
right,
Especially.
anything critical.
Yeah.
Of America.
It was suddenly rah, chest thumping patriotism immediately, and also, we hate Muslims.
Right. Yeah. That, you definitely have to throw that in, yeah.
Immediately.
So it's 2022. We can look back on from 2001 to like 2006, 2007, and go, some of the stuff that we did was a little ridiculous as a reaction to this terrorist attack.
Well, letting the government see what kind of underwear we're buying and stuff.
Yeah, I think that was maybe an overreaction, right?
Maybe.
And now we're gonna have to deal with that for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
The Strokes taking New York City Cops off of their album in 2001.
Well, I'm glad we corrected that eventually.
Well, I don't think that was an overreaction. I think that was a necessary reaction, right? That's kind of like they're a New York band.
Yeah.
At the time, everyone was, like you said, rah about, New York,
NYPD,
America, the NYPD.
FDNY.
Of course. Then you got a song calling them dumb. Yeah, that was probably a necessary reaction.
No. They ain't that smart, is all they say.
Right. I would argue that New York City Cops deserves to be on the album because it's fantastic.
It's a great song, yeah.
And it kind of changes the flow of the album, makes it weird. Luckily, I have the UK version on vinyl. Whatever. Not a big deal.
Humble brag. I do too.
But that at the time made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Making blood look like paint
Right.
because of a terrorist attack.
Sure.
Okay? Okay.
Look.
Is that fine? Is that okay? Did you see her face?
I didn't have to. I felt
when I
it.
said that,
I felt it.
the reaction is if I said like, "Yeah, we need another one," right?
There was no context when you said that.
I didn't think I needed to give context. No, you tuned in when I said it, and that's your fault. And if somebody turns on this pod 30 minutes in and they're like, "Holy shit!"
I'm gonna put a
when is
timestamp
Marco
right
on?"
before you say it.
That's on y'all. That's not
Lord.
on me. I gave enough context, enough evidence. I'm not walking that back.
All right.
Maybe later, if like SeatGeek or somebody approaches us, I might walk it back. then.
FBI starts knocking at your door. Anyway, to all that to say that may not have anything to do with the fact that the blood looked like paint. But I couldn't help but think it could have been a overcorrection given the time period because it came out in October.
Yeah.
So obviously right after.
Right.
So could be a factor, could not be. Maybe they were going because I mean we should say very clearly here this movie is camp. Very campy.
Oh, so camp.
So the fact that it looks like fake blood. It looks like, like old school horror movie blood.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
like a little pink.
Yeah. Like thick
And
as
super
shit.
thick.
And, yeah.
Super thick. Could have to do with the tone they were trying to set with it. So who knows? But I wanted to point that out as a negative for me because I think it could have done better with more modern effects, I guess, as far as the violence and gore went.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of the effects don't really stand up anymore. But, I mean, sometimes it's a comedic effect. So, not a complete negative on my part, but it does not age well. Sometimes in a funny way, sometimes in a groany, this looks terrible way.
Yeah.
Where other more practical effects, like the distorted faces and stuff coming out of the wall or inside the wall, looked really good.
That
still
was awesome.
Yeah,
Still,
they still
yeah.
stand up and look really good. There's a lot of creepy imagery in that I thought was really actually genuinely frightening and interesting to look at.
Yeah.
So it's such a mishmash of like good and bad into one package that I think overall is I'd say positive. So let's jump into that. What do you think is the positive side of this epic we call Bones?
Well, to springboard off of what you're saying, the practical effects are, I think, a pretty big positive. Because, yes, some of it looks terrible. But some of it looks incredible.
Snoop Dogg's face morphing into the dog.
That was awful.
What did he say?
That's when he says dog eat dog, nigga. That's the first time he says it.
Yes.
And then no. He says the thing about
chicken?
Because he says he says the thing the guy, the conspiracy theorist, and he says because the conspiracy theory that he says is that the white man is putting chemicals in the batter at chicken places like Popeyes and KFC,
yeah.
and that black people shouldn't be eating fried chicken. And they're like, man, you ain't even black. What the fuck are you talking about? So then he says something alluding to that, which again, how would he even know that conversation took place? It was in the actually the dog was in the car.
That's why.
Oh.
He said like gangsters don't eat fried chicken.
The gangster of love or something. The gangster of love ain't gonna eat no more fried chicken. Something like that.
Yeah. With his human lips.
Yeah. It was very, very fucked up. But the underworld thing that they were doing, fantastic.
Yeah, it looked great.
Extremely creepy.
Yeah.
Really fucked up. Like you could see that in a modern horror movie and played in a different way could be extremely unsettling. Yeah. There's scenes where some of their faces are like distorted to the point of just being monstrous, and it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
So the practical effects were great. Pam Grier is amazing in everything that she does. So
Absolutely.
I never have any negative thing to say about Pam Grier. She's amazing. And the pimp, the second pimp drug dealer, whatever he is.
Yeah.
I gotta say, he's probably my MVP of the movie.
He
Dropped
really
some of
good.
the best lines.
He was really good.
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
When he gets his head cut off, and Bones is like keeping their spirit with their heads, their disembodied heads. I mean, every
Yeah.
line he drops. Oh, I mean, I was like, oh, right, that's what this movie is.
Yeah.
You know, because when you watch it as a kid, you don't really understand camp, and you don't understand like irony.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is a straightforward horror movie, and some of the
Sure.
stuff seems a little ridiculous. When you're an adult and there's a little more context, a little more nuance, even though this movie doesn't do the nuance well enough to like surpass how ridiculous some of the stuff comes off. There are moments where you're like, man, that was really like, I think if the movie was played up as a dark comedy,
Yeah.
it would have been a masterpiece.
Yeah,
Right? There's
yeah.
some moments where you're like, that's genuinely funny. And if the movie was played to that as opposed to trying to be a straightforward horror movie with these comedic elements, I think that's where a lot of those movies fucked up. A lot of those 2000s horror movies were like, we're going to play this thing for comedy, and then we're going to play this thing straight.
Super serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't work. I mean, obviously there's room for levity, but
Yeah.
straight up slapstick comedy
Yeah. Yeah.
does not work when the next scene is supposed to be horrific violence.
Right.
It just doesn't.
Yeah.
That's why Tales from the Hood is perfect, because
Yeah.
it plays up those things. There's very, very serious things that they address in that movie, but there's the way that they do it, the anthology storytelling aspect of it. This thing can be serious. This thing can be goofy and campy and funny, and it's this guy telling these different stories and whatnot, and so it works together. You can't have both of those things. You know what I mean? It just,
Yeah. Clashes.
yeah. So, sorry, we're supposed to be doing pros.
Yeah. I was gonna bring you back to Earth, but
Those are it. That's it. That's all I got. That's it. That's all I got.
yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, you know, I gotta agree with you. I think it really works in certain elements. I think some of the horror really works. Mm-hmm. Most of the comedy really works. It's the way it's put together that clashes at times. But I think with the distance we have from when it first came out now, I think it works as a movie. Like I would come back to watch this again. You know,
Yeah.
it was entertaining. It was fun. Even the parts that didn't work, like it just gave you enough time to get a breather and before the next like bad thing happens. I mean I came away from it enjoying it far more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
I think, dare I say, and this credit goes to you, the perfect follow-up to Saloon. Because it's like Saloon is so serious and dark,
Yeah.
and this is so not that.
Yeah.
Even when it tries to be,
Yeah.
for better or worse. So yeah, I mean, I enjoy it.
It's fun.
It's fun.
It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, Snoop Dogg he's really playing it up. You know, he's in it, and he's you know, is he gonna win any awards at any
No.
point? No.
No.
But
He's playing Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, when they ask him to do something, I think he's just like, all right. I think he's very game.
Well, you can tell, and this is also having to do with like knowing Snoop Dogg personally.
Yeah, right. As you do.
You can tell that he, like, this had to be a dream of his.
Yeah.
To star as like a pimp or like a 70s like iconic street lord.
Yeah.
You know? And he looks like he's having a great time.
Yeah.
Doing it.
I think the way the movie's sold to him is like, you're gonna be the big bad, you're gonna be this like vengeful spirit, and it's because your homies turned on you. Oh, by the way, your girlfriend's Pam
You
Grier.
get to kiss Pam Grier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just kind of get to be you throughout
Yeah.
the whole movie. I mean, sell that to anybody else, and they're like, yeah,
Sure.
fuck yeah, that sounds awesome. I'll
Yeah.
do that.
Right.
So why wouldn't he?
Exactly.
And
Thus Bones was born.
thus Bones was born.
Yeah.
I think it ends up on all these like essential black horror movie lists, and we were looking at some of these lists, and we're like, what? Bones?
We should say that's why we got to this movie in the first place.
Yeah.
You chose it, but it was only because it was on a list of like black horror movies that you need to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. And we both had seen the movie when we were kids, and we both were like, well, no, that movie's terrible.
Right.
Why is that movie ending up on all these lists? And, you know, now having rewatched it as an adult, I get it.
Yeah.
I think it is essential. I
Yeah.
think it deserves to be on those lists.
Sure.
And I also don't think it deserves to have a 25% on Rotten Tomatoes. No. I think it's not a great movie. It's a fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's an entertaining movie. It's not is it a horror classic? No. But it's like, I mean, shit, I think it's pretty close. I think it's like really entertaining.
Yeah.
It was, it moves at a pretty quick pace.
Sure,
you know,
yeah,
gets
doesn't
to where it's
overstay its
going.
welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does a lot of killing. There's like, you know, there's a good, nice chunk where everybody gets theirs.
Yeah.
No one's bad in it. The cop is fantastic.
Oh yeah, he's great. That was the other thing I meant to bring up. Along with practical effects, we should say great fat suit.
Oh yeah, amazing fat
Great
suit.
fat suit. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. They didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess when he was younger, he was too in shape and he was too like
Sure.
So they were like, we have to make him look like the.
You know what? And it's good you say that, because I think it would have been a mistake to just give him wrinkles, because wrinkles never look as good as a fat suit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
He's an aging disgust. It's showing like how his life has gone. He's just indulged in everything until he's this like fat, disgusting pervert.
Yeah.
And he perfectly embodies that like 70s blaxploitation cop.
Yeah.
The white cop who's there like to blow crack on you after you're already down.
Sprinkle some crack on him. Let's get out of here. Yeah, I think I think it also kind of, maybe I'm reading this a little too much, but when you see the flashback to him being like, you know, good looking and in shape and whatnot, that was like his 70s heyday.
Yeah.
And now the years have gone by and they've worn him down, but I think it also maybe shows a little like regret for all the things that he's done, but at this point he's like, I'm a piece of shit, so who cares? At this point, like, I'm not going to go back and change those things.
Right. Well,
so, fuck it.
I think his first line in the movie is it's not worth it or something like that.
Right, yeah. And he's eating a sandwich.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah, it's not worth it. So I think, you know, again, maybe I'm putting too much poetry on that, but maybe
that was
maybe thought about it.
Maybe that was the intent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think, again, there's deep beneath a lot of the. There's a movie there.
There is.
You know?
Yeah.
As shallow as that dog had to dig for Bones' bodies, there's a movie underneath all of this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's waiting to be unearthed.
Another con is the choices made by these kids are asinine from the jump.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like, I mean, I guess the idea is this is just a straight on horror movie and they're going to make bad decisions like anybody else.
Right.
But I think, you know, going back, Jordan Peele's approach to modern horror movies and why he's casting black people, part of the reason is like, I want to show you whenever black people talk shit about horror movies, they're like, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go down those stairs. Somebody makes a big bang outside. I'm not going to go check it out.
Right.
I'm not doing all that.
No, I mean,
so
Candyman, perfect example.
Yeah, it was a good choice. She says,
Nope.
nope, closes that door and like moves on. And it's like it's that's how most people would react definitely most black people would react in that situation. So that was a little disappointing that I think in 2001 Dickerson could have like kind of taken the piss in that instance.
Sure.
But instead they just do everything that you would expect dumb teens to do in these movies. They go down the stairs, they dig up the body, they rob the body.
Don't listen to anybody.
They try to have sex. Even when they're seeing weird shit's happening around them.
Yeah.
You know, people are screaming at them to get out of the house. They're like, no,
Yeah.
we're doing this nightclub. We're just barreling through, and I just don't know anybody, regardless of their age, that after all of that shit would still be like, you know what? Not only do I want to throw a party here, I also want to live here while I fix this house up. It's crazy.
Well, maybe at the time that was looked at as a breakthrough, that these black characters are acting like the white ones too,
Yeah.
like the fact that we have a black, ensemble really.
The
Helming,
minority was the white characters in the movie.
yeah, helming this horror movie, I think is not something to poo-poo,
Yeah. Definitely.
So
definitely.
I think it definitely belongs in our list of reviewing, movies to celebrate by black creators. And yeah, I'm left overall pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
Though it has some issues, I think. Overall, I would recommend it.
It's way, way better than I remembered.
Yeah.
Like, so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right.
Yeah. Well, one thing that we can hopefully agree on is this beer. So, as we've stated before, we're not going to review these on our typical one beer and scale. But that being said, did you enjoy it?
I did.
What'd you think?
I would say that it's kind of hard for me to pick out the cherry and coconut notes. I think as far as like just an Imperial Stout, I think it's nice, smooth, easy drinking for being 12.4.
Surprisingly, yeah.
So, recommend.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Same. These may be hard to find outside of the Tampa area, but it is quite delicious, especially if you like your darker beers. Very sweet, but yeah, at the same time, pretty smooth going down. Doesn't hit you in the back of the throat with a 1-2 punch of alcohol, which is nice. Before we get out of here, let's go ahead and review the movie.
Yeah.
What would you give it?
3.5.
3.5.
3.5. 3.5 bottle caps out of 6. There is, it's way better than a 25% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
That score is a crime. It really is.
Yeah.
Sometimes this happens sometimes. Rotten Tomatoes gets it wrong. They got it wrong. 25% is not fair. I think it probably hovers around a 50-55%. Still
Sure.
probably rotten.
Yeah.
But not 25%.
Yeah.
25% is reserved for like some of the worst movies ever made.
Sure.
I don't think it's that.
Not this. They didn't get it.
No, they didn't get it. They didn't get it.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, got anything else to say?
I think I've said enough.
Well, he said enough.
Sorry about like 9/11 or whatever, you know?
All right, we're gonna end this right now. This has been the One Reelin' Podcast. Thank you for joining us. That's a wrap.
Let's all go to the Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.